I think we're live.
All right.
Let
You figured
me
it out.
click this, go live.
And we have people joining us. That's exciting.
And we're off. All right, cool. What's up, everybody? The first Rucking Show. The Rucking Show. We are stepping off and we have literally no idea where we're going. But we'd like to see, so we can kind of see the comments. What's up, James, Dan, J-Rod, Leslie, Michael is hustle. Love it. Do us a favor, drop in the chat where you're viewing from. It would be really cool to kind of see the global reach. Obviously, we're on 5 continents. Ruck Race League is officially on 5 continents. So wherever you're at, I think we have 49 states.
What's
I
missing?
I want to say,
Oh,
I
cool. We
forget
got the
what state is
UK.
missing.
Nice.
Yeah. We've got the UK, Greenville, Austin. Oh, yeah. Bel Air. Good people down there. Awesome. So our intention with this, look at this. All right, cool. Arizona, sitting in Phoenix, Orlando, yes. Vancouver, Washington, Dan on the West Coast. Cool. Awesome, guys. Sweet. So what we want to do is start this as a way of engaging with the community, and hopefully y'all could tell, like, we're very community first focused. We want to gather people in a shared goal and action that with effort. And when we do that, some like really beautiful, amazing things can happen, are happening. We're seeing that. And, you know, for as much as we need Instagram really to grow the Ruck Race League, and it has been, we also recognize the limitations of that as a platform. So this is, we were thinking of like maybe a podcast, but that can kind of, I feel like the live thing is sort of the new podcast. So conversational, interactive. We'd love to hear from y'all. And we have some pretty cool plans for this show to both have conversation and put stuff out, and as well as interact with have guests on, and we want to hear your stories and stuff like that. So, you know, we're probably not going to nail it right out of the park right away, but we ask for your support and your guidance too. So, anything I'm missing there, Kay?
No, but the metaphors hit it out of the park. Knock it out of the park. Nail it. Hit it out of the
What
park.
did I say?
Just nail it out of the park.
Nail it into the park.
Yeah. So today is just us, but hopefully, yeah, we'll be having some guests on, and there's some pretty cool things, both in terms of people's stories and performance. It's not just all about performance. So you know, that's going to be something we want to obviously be able to highlight, some of the incredible numbers people are putting up, but also just some of the stories that we've been able to hear from people. So today it is just us, and our goal today is, I think, to talk a little bit about, you know, a couple of things that are foundational to like why we started Ruck Race League, why we're claiming that we're creating a sport out of it. I love that Leslie, by the way, whoever's in this community, you're going to get to know Leslie. She did her 3rd attempt, and she said she's happy with it. And she said yesterday was full send. So that's really cool. It's cool to see people repeating and doing themselves proud. So you want to kick it off with kind of the topic of today?
Yeah, I mean, I think real quick, if we could say maybe like just kind of 5 minutes. So there's obviously some folks who know us. Most people don't, which I actually am like, I love that because it's like a fresh start. And I don't know, man, like I'm a sucker for fresh starts. I like that. I think rucking as a sport is a fresh start for a lot of people. And I think that I'm at least getting the vibe for that. So I'd love to know, like in the comments too, like is rucking a fresh start? Does it feel like a fresh start for y'all, even if you're not new to rucking? And we can kind of build on that a little bit, but real quick, like how we got here. I think that would be maybe an interesting thing. So
Yeah.
our background, you opened a CrossFit gym in 2008 before it was a thing. It was, you were told, no, don't do it. Bad idea. What the heck is CrossFit? Like, and in classic, I call her K, her name is Cariana or K Animal. But like in classic K Animal form, you're like, yeah, right. I'm going to do it anyway. So like, thank you. We met, I was prepping to go into the military. I walked into the gym. I was like, who is this human being? I've never met anybody like this. And like the rest is kind of history. So when I got out of the military, and my job in the military was very ruck intensive, as many are, we started this brand called Between the Ears that was designed to provide people experiences and opportunities to learn and grow about themselves. The delivery mechanism for that was in-person experiences that had a physical component. Basically, we would like do hard shit for a long time, and the ego would sort of melt away, or come up, and we would deal with whatever came up. So it was like really cool. There was a bunch of ruck based events, and I think one of the things about Between the Ears that was good from the beginning, there wasn't any yelling and screaming. There was no like in your face. Somebody actually said that they were concerned I was gonna like, this was a woman, that I was gonna like throw her against the wall in one of the events, and I was like, okay, I'm not trying to go to jail. Like this is
Yeah, and I think, to be fair, that was coming at a time where there was this strange birth of quasi-military events that people could pay for and go to. And then, of course, because you were in the military, people made this assumption like doing hard things had to involve some sort of like punitive element. And that was not what the Between the Ears things were about. There was certainly
right.
challenge physically, but it wasn't about you punishing people and having people do it was more about their own personal challenge mentally and physically.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And so so we did that for years, and then different things. We opened a gym, we did all these different things. And we started this program called the Vector Project. And we did that actually during the pandemic, as a cool way of giving people something to train for that would culminate in a challenging event. And, this was at a time, it was obviously such a weird time for everybody, but we really felt like we could use movement and fitness and immersive experience as a way of providing a little bit of light in the world. And we set out this 10-week program that would prepare people for a 12-mile ruck into a 6-mile run. And we hosted one locally, but then people did it wherever like they were in the world as well. And that was a really cool event. It was a cool program. It was kind of a bummer that it was like the COVID thing, but whatever. The Vector Project also, people, by the way, you will get that if you sign up for the Ruck Race League, you get that for free, as an ebook. So if you haven't received it, maybe you weren't subscribed to our email list or something. So just ping us an email. Kay can drop in the chat too, like what our email is. Obviously, there's a million ways of getting in touch with us. Point being, it's a free resource. It's a free thing. We're giving it out. We did that again last summer, and it was pretty neat because we had way more people than before, and people from all over the place. And again, we hosted an in-person thing here in Jersey, but people did it like all over the place. And there's a physical workout, there's like a journal practice with each week, and there's like a mindset kind of topic, and pretty neat, pretty cool. But I'm saying all of that because Kay was doing a 5K walk with her mom, and this was in the middle of like the Vector Project sort of train up, and she was like, you know what, I'm gonna like ruck it, right? You're obviously super fit, you could run that, but like you're gonna ruck it with your mom.
Yeah.
And I was on like maybe a 8-miler or 9-miler, kind of training ruck, And I'm just kinda like, I don't know about you, but when I listen or when I rock, I like to kinda just, like, not put any music in. Sometimes I will, but, like, generally, like, it's a nice time to just let whatever come in, come in. And I was thinking about you. I was like, "Oh, I wonder how she's doing. I wonder how that's going." And I was kinda thinking about that. I was like, "Oh, like, I wonder." Actually, I think the question was like, "I wonder if she's the only one rucking it."
Mhm.
And were you? Were you the only one rucking it?
Yeah, it was actually some of the people in the UK are probably familiar with the group. It's like, I forget what it's called, but I guess they're Park Run. Maybe James knows this one. I think he was the one from the UK. No. Um, anyway, or Shar Baby might know this one. So Park Run is like some running thing. They meet up at parks. I was the only one rucking, and it was definitely interesting because I'm gonna go ahead and admit something.
Go ahead.
I don't I don't love rucking.
How
Like, what
dare
I
you.
mean is what I mean is if I have the chance to go do something, it would probably not be rucking. Like, I do like running, I like walking the dogs, but I'm not the kind of person that loves I liked getting my ruck and like, "Oh, that's cool," but I'm not drawn to rucking, like, some people love it. But I
Uh-huh.
really like competition. We know that Cannimal's all about competition.
Yeah, you love
Um
competition.
So when I was rucking with my mom and she had a goal of that was like she had trained for this 5K walk and I was thinking about our pace and I was like, I wonder like what kind of pace I could hold. Like we started like really like pushing the walking pace. And so that
Mhm.
definitely was more interesting to me than if I just was going for a leisurely, like when we put a ruck on and take the dogs.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, that was the only one rucking, but it was definitely an interesting kind of when you we had actually met up at a coffee shop after and because Michael said he's here for the banter, I'm going to provide him something. um Bill has a lot of ideas and they're all wonderful, but we if we tried to do every one of them we would like never get anywhere in life. So you said to me, I have an idea, and immediately I was somewhat concerned. uh and I thought, oh my gosh, like what is he going to say? And then when you share the idea of like, really putting like a time essentially and putting a leaderboard to rucking and that thought of like, okay, how fast can you go in this time? What can you do with this load? I was the grimace. I was intrigued and I thought, wow, this is actually a good idea. So you are responsible for this. I will applaud you for that and give you credit. It's one of your ideas that actually we could put into motion and
I also
bring
have
to
an
fruition.
idea. I also had an idea of a family trivia game to pass down knowledge, and when I didn't present it. I wasn't, like, pitching my family. This was, like, 10 years ago at, like, Thanksgiving. I was like, "Oh, that'd be really cool if, like, you had, like, this trivia game where you could pass down family information,"
Which
like.
now exists. It does exist, by the way, but go on.
And I think my entire family just laughed at it.
Yeah, they rejected it. We
Anyway,
didn't pitch Rock Race League to them. We were
no, we
afraid
didn't
that
pitch
they
Rock
would
Race.
reject it.
But that's the
Yeah,
whole
so
thing.
anyway,
So
that's
that
where it came from.
Yeah, and it's kinda like, okay, hey, there's no 5K for Rutgers. I think that was what I first sort of started with. Like, you know, there might be one, maybe two people, and yes, people ruck 5Ks, but that's not a 5K designed for ruckers. And I understand there are some events, the internet and all of the people telling me why I'm so wrong since we launched this thing is funny because people are like, have you ever heard of Bataan Memorial Deathmatch? Have you ever heard of the military? And it's like, yes, yes, I have. I get it. There is no home for people who just want to ruck and view it as a sport. And so it's a natural, I think it's a natural human component, or it's just natural as a human being to do something challenging, which rucking is generally challenging. It's difficult, it's uncomfortable. And whenever you finish something like that, almost immediately it's like, I wonder how others would do. I wonder how I stack up. Not in a
Yeah.
like, I need to prove I'm better than everybody and assert dominance. No, like the people that do that,
Mm.
like, go away. It's the people that are just curious how you stack up against others because you did something difficult. It's like, you know,
Sure.
um,
But I think it's also, I saw Leslie was saying she loves rocking, competition not so much. I
yeah,
of course there is that, like, wondering how you stack up, and what we can get into is cool seeing, like, "Oh, wow, I didn't realize that was possible," and
yeah,
reframing, like, for yourself, like, probably like Leslie doing it 3 times, like, "Ooh, I guess maybe I could do more."
mhm,
But yeah, just for yourself, a little bit more inspiration to, like, I don't personally do a ton of CrossFit anymore, but I do enjoy the open because it's like, "Ooh, this is like
right,
a unique thing. How am I gonna do?" There's like a little bit more of a special element to it,
yeah,
which is what I think, no different than I go running a lot, going to a 5K, even if it's a community 5K, there's a different feeling to that. There's a different urgency or sort of like, okay, I'm gonna bring something more to this because it is a competitive timed
right,
event.
right. Yeah, and that's where when it comes to when we were putting this thing together, and again, some of this is maybe interesting, some of it might not be, but like I think it's important because it's our first one to kind of say like, look, let's all get on the same sheet, not the same sheet, but like where are we coming from? And what is a ruck race? Well, to me, and I've done probably too much rucking in my life. A ruck event does not include other workout elements. Like I'm curious to see um like just what is sort of possible with just a ruck. So pure rucking, I just felt like that was underserved. And if you want to ruck and then every 10 minutes do, 20 burpees and then every other round do flutter kicks, like fine, that's right on. Like do whatever you want to do. But if we're to get a good read on just like a pure rucking event, no different than if you were to do a marathon, you'd want to just run, not have to like do burpees or lunges or whatever it might be because you'd be like, well, like yeah, you covered the distance. So
Mhm.
that's the thing for us that I think is really what we're doing, and I think people again who are resonating with this and who are like, yeah, 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 that stuff is fine, but like I want to do something that I can do that. And the other thing I'll say is like, even though my background is the military and very ruck intensive, we're not trying to have this be the military. Like
Yeah.
we're not trying to recreate um, those experiences.
Mhm.
And there are obviously there's GoRuck, there's Green Beret Fitness, there's the tactical games. There's some big brands out there that are providing that service, and they do it well if that's what you're into, if that's what you want to do. And but like that's where we would say to someone like, yeah, hey, go do that thing, go check that
Right.
out. It's just totally different. Um, so this isn't really it's not like a military theme, it's more of a sport themed,
Right.
and that's kind of what we're trying to do is say, like, honestly, one of our maybe the vision, we'll throw this out there, but, like, we wanna champion getting rucking in the Olympics. If
Right. I
speed
mean,
walking
speed
is in the
walking is
right,
in the Olympics,
which, by
but
the way, like, somebody put a I wanna see somebody those people are amazing.
yeah,
Who
yes. Well, we
look
could
at
go on
that.
a tangent about speed walking. I have to rein Bill in sometimes. Um, yeah, and I think when you think in those ways of like at the extreme, okay, like would it make sense in the Olympics? And then you picture like why isn't it? And like why isn't that in the Olympics? Like and that orientation towards like I don't know why it's confusing for people. Like there are people that swim at our local YMCA master's programs, they go and swim laps. I had a swim group. And then there's the Olympics. Swimming is a sport, but when you're engaged in it in the pool on a random day, like, is it really a sport? It's probably more recreational. So to date, that's what we're saying, just to kind of make that point again, that to date, rucking really hasn't been a sport. It's more been recreational or serving a purpose for the military or been involved in fitness like Go Ruck or um, yeah, the baton death march, but really as a pure sport, that's kind of been lacking. So yes, our events will really be okay. Yes, that girl's not walking that fast. The
I'm
the
just saying.
the
It's in
fastest
the
one
look
though
at
was
that,
like a sub 6 minute. It's a sub 6 minute mile walking.
which is
By the
ridiculous.
way,
But
so
like, look at this.
anyway,
That's an Olympic. Like, it's
yes,
pretty
we all
gnarly.
know
Look
that's
at that.
okay.
Okay, so like, I'm just saying the point of it is,
Yes, Rough Race Olympics 2028.
yeah. The point
Yeah,
is like it's possible. Is it the next one? I don't know. Maybe not,
yeah,
but it is possible.
yes.
So
And just to wrap up, sort of for the everyday person, that's also to say that there's a lot of everyday people that participate in 5K runs, or sort of sport versions of uh, recreational activities. Um, and that doesn't mean they're like Olympiads. So that's kind of what we're trying to do is have a
yes,
barrier that's low that people can feel like they have that. What's beautiful about competition is it does maybe push you to do more than you thought you could do normally or whatever. And they can have that experience with something that's not CrossFit, that's not muscle ups, that's not running a sub 19-minute 5K. So that's kind
right.
of what we're looking to elicit and provide people in their individual experience.
Well, and I think that's the thing, the accessibility part.
Yeah.
Like we love rucking, even though you don't like rucking and you're like a turncoat on us, but like we the the fact that it is so accessible is amazing, and we generally like that, and as
Yeah.
an activity, which is like great, and that's one of our ethos is accessibility. So everything we're going to continue to build, and also are asking for feedback from the community, because we recognize that, like, this could be a great idea, but if it has to be like some sort of mutual situation. Accessibility it will always have to pass an accessibility test. There
Hmm.
will be an element to the season that will not be accessible, and that's going to be finals. Like, that's going to be something that you
Right.
qualify for, and we can kind of get into the structure in a second. But our sort of ethos, if you will, our accessibility is the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
I would say the second one is honesty, because we recognize that not everybody's path is exactly the same, but like everybody's on the sort of journey, everybody's on the path. And your route, like, for example, for Chronos, you and I went to the park, Natterar. You did a different section of the park than I did. I had a little bit
Hmm.
more elevation than you had. Some Leslie out in Arizona, Michael down in Florida, folks over in Scotland, I guess, somehow figured out. They somehow found, like, some of the folks were like, we found the flattest part of Scotland. Like, it's a miracle. Like, and I think what's really cool about this and our community, and what we sort of stand for, is like going into the third sort of ethos is like, like, work hard and compete, but don't take yourself like so seriously. Like, have a good time doing it, give it your
Yeah.
best, and let the effort be the explanation. If we're trying to explain with words like, well, my thing was 13 feet more, yours was like, you picked that route, like, you picked that path. I'm not gonna do any of the distance events or any of these events. Obviously, we know what they are. I'm personally not gonna do it on a track. I'm not gonna do it on a track because that's the flattest,
Well, not every
most.
event.
What I'm saying is a 60
Yes,
minute
I'm
work,
just
like
yes.
Chronos.
Okay, I'm just making sure
I
you
got
don't
you.
someone's not like,
I know.
"Hey."
What I'm saying is I'm not gonna do it specifically to have a sterile environment, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. I
Yes.
understand, and we certainly understand that, like, hey, part of the Olympics requires a bit of sterility. Fair enough. Like, but if everybody's doing the same thing at that
Mhm.
point, which is what everybody will do with finals,
Yes.
um,
And I
you
think
know,
it's up to the person, obviously, um, for someone that like I'm going to use a CrossFit analogy. If people aren't CrossFitters, like the Open is obviously every year there's these 3 workouts. People register, they do them in their local gyms. One year, I believe it was last year, there was a burpee pull-up situation. And it got very like the standard wasn't quite, if you finagled it right, it made it easier, harder. And so I think it's one of those things like for me, I'm not going to compete at a higher level for CrossFit. I'm not going to be one of the top competitors. So if it was to the best advantage possible, that wasn't really my concern. It was just do the workout, see how I did. So with Rock Race League, if someone's sort of like, okay, I'm not probably going to be at the level of going to the finals, this is not really my main focus, then it would probably make sense for them to do it locally, somewhere enjoyable in their local park, whether there's elevation or not. Someone else who's like, no, I'm like in a train and this is like super important to me, then that's what's cool is they have the ability to, yeah, if they want to do the 60-minute or whatever it is on a track
Yeah.
in a mind-numbing fashion, like do it. Nobody's saying not to. So it's kind of like
Right.
find what you, I think that traces back to a lot of how we approach fitness and some of the stuff we do on the day to day is sort of like figuring out what a win is for you and what does this look like for you? What would be valuable for you? If you're going to hate your life for an hour walking around a track, what are you doing? Versus if it's going to really matter to you to get the best possible goal and that's worth it, then great. What's your
And that's
intention?
and that's what I'm saying, like, we initially when we were building this thing, I was thinking like, "All right, I'm gonna say to people, you can't do it on a track." And if their Strava thing is just, like the circle, I'm gonna be like, "No." And it's like, "Wait a second, hold a second, hold on, hold on, hold
Right.
on."
Not
Just because
controlling
I
everything.
don't wanna do it on a track, doesn't mean
Right.
I should have any authority to say, "Don't do it on a track." Like, you wanna do it on a
Dude,
track? There's a test called the hour in biking or whatever. It's like the world's most they optimize
it's
the
the
conditions.
velodrome. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and they like there's like the conditions are like there's no wind friction. I mean, they're like crazy on it. And it's like the most painful hour of like sporting if like go for it. I love it. I think that's super cool. For me personally, I get more enjoyment out of being in nature and I like the unevenness. I think there's a whole theme to that. But if somebody's like, "No, I'm going to try to hit 12 miles," and you're going to do
Hmm.
that on a track, like, yeah, right on.
Yeah.
The whole purpose with it is the accountability and the individual intention of like you pick your route,
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah.
So if you do it on track, right on. Okay. Um, let's talk about competition a little bit because this is something I see in the comments, and I think that it's interesting how you approach competition and how I approach competition.
Hmm.
Um, you said you love competition. What do you love? What do you like about competition? Because as your
I guess,
husband, I have
yeah. Well, I beat you
seen you
today.
compete. What? Well, that's not. Come on, that's not.
Um, I don't like, okay, let me rephrase that. I go into a complete state of paralysis before before competing. Every regionals, Ironman, I decide that I'm like not going to participate. I'm going to cancel. So when I say I love it, maybe that's not quite the full picture. I guess I like having a test.
Uh huh.
Like, you know, and even though I get really stressed out with like formal competitive events, why I'm really not sure. At the end of the day, like I love that test. I love seeing like how am I going to do? And I don't think that's something that every day, obviously every day can't be like how am I going to do? How am I
Yeah,
going to
because
do?
I
What's
can
this
test
test?
you really well every day. You know what I mean? I feel like
Well, I
I feel like
you mean
it's a test to live with me.
okay, that's not the test we're talking about. But I mean,
You like tests?
seeing how being thrown this unknown. And that's some of it. Like, okay, even for Ironman, like I didn't do Ironman before I did Ironman. I prepared,
Yeah.
I did everything I needed to, and then that day was like show up and like, how's this gonna go? So I like that element. I think that's part of competition. You can prepare and prepare and prepare, and you're still going to be faced with like, okay, that day, how am I going to do?
Mhm.
And like, so for this first event, I didn't, I did like, I wouldn't say a true effort. I was at school. I took my ruck. I had the same weight, and I did a couple loops walking. And I was sort of like, wow, this is harder than I thought. Um, and I didn't, maybe I covered 3 miles. Like, obviously, that was just sort of like listening to a podcast. Then when we went and did it, I was like, I'm going to run. I've never run with a ruck on. I'm going to try. And it was really cool to see, like, oh, I got 5.25 miles. Like, wow, that was new. That I've never done that.
Yeah.
So I think that's the part of competition, not really like everybody showing up in a group and getting on the start line. Like that actually gives me a lot of anxiety. But just sort of seeing what the test, what like having a test. And some of that goes into, I think, when we talk about people referring to like training for rucking, it's pretty it's pretty cool because we do part of our regular workouts, we do strength, we do cardio, we do metabolic conditioning. And so rucking and these events are a really neat way to see like, oh, how's my fitness going? It's kind of a product. It's some sort of reflection of your
Yeah.
where you're at. So I think that's what I like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much do you care about where you place? Be
I think
honest, be honest.
it depends on the thing. CrossFit, I get really like not in the world picture because I that's like less realistic. Although I did look at all my statistics on the CrossFit app this year and my percentiles, so
Oh my god.
I do care. But like Ironman, I don't care. That was like if I finish, that's like a win. So I think it's back to the like, what's the win for you? For
Uh-huh.
ruck racing, like I don't feel like I have a lot of experience in these things.
Right.
So I have to be realistic about my expectations. Like, why would I think I should be at the top of the leaderboard or winning when I've not had a lot of experience? Something that I'm super experienced in, I'm like, okay, I should be doing better relative to the masses. But I wouldn't say for this it matters. It's more like, yeah, just beating you mostly. I did
Yeah.
pretty well compared to you. I mean, I never was in the military, just saying.
I love how people in the military think that because they're in the military, they are like the gods. Like they're the ones who own. I when I say I love that, I actually hate that. It's like chill out. It's so different. It's there were like I just have to bring it up. There's been like some comments and messages and stuff like that about that, and it's like, can you please just stop trying to gatekeep and predict? Like, it's okay. There's plenty to go around, and not for nothing. What you did with a bag on and gear and on a patrol and all of this is not the same. Like, God forbid anybody
Well,
else was.
and by the way, school children are rucking every day.
Yeah, the OGs for sure.
So
Yeah.
anyway, um,
Yeah, I think the competition thing, honestly, what I really like about that, so we looked at like the etymology. I'm like, that's a cool thing. Obviously, a buddy of mine is like all into that, and I kind of have gotten into it too, looking at the etymology of words and just just trying to understand like more than what you maybe hear them used as. Anyway, the etymology of to compete is to strive in common. And when we were working through kind of how are we going to tell the story and how are we going to make this, which obviously Michael is Hustle, Michael Dalton is the sort of is the artist, the creator that helped us really bring this to life publicly. That was like, oh, that's cool because honestly, I didn't know what I didn't know what I mean, I was an athlete. It was, obviously you're competing all the time in my former job and stuff like that. And like, but it was about beating other people. Like that's what it's about. You could, if you as an athlete didn't win. Frankly, some of it's like, who cares? Like how well you think you did, you still lost. You could have a winless season, and you would not consider that a successful season. Like, I'm sorry, that's just the way it goes. So when looking into like, okay, it would be cool to have people compete in rucking. Well, like let's just explore what does it mean to compete and to strive in common. Meaning, the goal is the test and the task is shared, and you strive. You give it your best. You do it once, you do it 3 times. Like you give it your best. I think the beauty about competition is, and I guess this is kind of how I view it and have viewed it maybe more so recently, since kind of not being an athlete, is like it extracts something from you that you might not have known was in you. And we're, for whatever reason, we're like really good at limiting ourselves. And now all of a sudden, you have this thing to compete in, this sport that maybe you're like me and you haven't really found something that you want to train for or actually compete. I have no interest in competing in fitness. I don't use fitness to as a sport. Ironmans and swim. I can't swim, like all of that different stuff. Like, I don't know. I kind of haven't like found my outlet. And part of that is like because I honestly have zero give a shit about what my placing is. And I think a lot of athletes who have had that as a more sort of traditional sport athlete feel maybe similarly. Not everybody, but like I've kind of been there and done that. I don't care. So to strive in common and to use this outlet as a mechanism to extract something within me that I may have gotten in my own way of and limited myself.
Mm.
I think that's the beauty of competition. I think that's way fucking cooler than I won.
Yeah,
That's like,
because
okay, who
well,
cares?
because you've said this before, and you were obviously an athlete, and I was never like on a team in that way. But like, if you're a really good team and you crush some team that's just not that good, like it's really like, who cares? It's, you know what I mean? So it's not relative to if you didn't do your best or you didn't really exceed your expectations or do anything that was meaningful to you, who cares that that performance still won? It's more about, um, yeah, doing something. I mean, I can't believe I'm going to make this reference.
Oh
Look how
god,
far I've come.
what is it?
But like the Masters this weekend. The Masters, for those who don't know, is a golf.
Everybody knows. You're the last person on the face of the earth that saying,
Golf,
"Oh, please tell
everyone,
me."
is a small ball and they try to get it into a hole in the ground. Um, but like, I don't know, there's something about that, like, just that wasn't really about Rory. Like, yes, of course it was about him beating everybody else,
Yeah,
but it was about like his experience of trying to chase this thing and his performance.
totally.
It was irrelevant about like everybody else. So,
Right.
um, yeah, I think that's what and I think that too with what we're trying to do. To your point, where you started with this, is community, hearing people's stories. We're, while it is super cool, and we hope to get one of the people on, who just like did something just amazing with their performance, and hear about that. That's really interesting. But also, it's really interesting for us to hear about someone who, yeah, maybe they finished dead last on the leaderboard, but their story, their experience was, you know, rewarding and inspiring. Like that's of
Yeah,
equal importance. And that's
yeah,
always, I think, anyone who's been in a gym, that there's the thing like, cool, having someone who PRs their lift by 2 pounds. Who cares? The person that, jumped on a box or climbed a rope for the first time, like that's the stuff that's like, wow, that's really cool. So,
yeah,
uh, that's kind of to get back to the ethos list. That's kind of moving through that. Um,
yeah. I mean, that's what's kind of wild. Like, I'm just looking at the leaderboard and like, um, Tessa Hellbrook over in the Netherlands on the women's side, 10.5K.
yeah.
Like, that's gnarly. And on the men's side, Mark Jones, 12,971. Okay. Nobody, maybe Mark, but like nobody, maybe, okay. And Robin over in the UK, Netherlands as well, 12,100. Like these scores, these efforts are freaking wild. And what I love about this too is I don't think Stu Wright, he didn't put his flag in there, but like it's an international situation happening here, which is so cool. Scotland, we got Mac over in Germany. So like you've got, I'm gonna find, I think maybe right around here. I don't know. Where's 10K? All right. So Michael, you got to redo it again. You're 70 meters short of 10K. All right, Alex Bridgeworth. Alex Bridgeworth, right on from Street Park. So he cracked 10K, and that was actually my goal. I'm going to redo it next weekend, but 10K, I was like, oh, but I didn't think about 10K. I didn't think about 10K really before. I was like, I don't know, like just give it a go. Then all of a sudden, people started throwing up these wild times, and you're like, whoa, it's like the Roger Bannister effect. It's like I never would have really considered that. And
Yeah.
during the effort, I loved that I had a goal when we did it a week or 2 weeks ago, maybe. I was like, I had a goal of 10K and I didn't hit it. And I realized, like, okay, I kind of went out a little conservative, and that's fine. It's okay. But like I didn't hit it. I came up a little short. And I love that. I like that. That's more human to me than maybe I would have set the bar a little bit too low. So like I think it's amazing seeing the effect, the leaderboard effect of, it's going to shake up a little bit of what I think is possible. It's going to shake up a little bit of, I'm not going to lie, like I worked harder than I would have
Yeah.
because of the leaderboard effect. And so in
Yeah.
many ways, like thank you to all the people that are doing that. And what's crazy about the, on that note, Alex Bridgeforth, 10K, he's in 14th place.
Yeah.
It's like wild. And Mark Jones, we want to get him on here too to share his story. It's like, who is this guy? It's like, oh, you want to know who he is? He's going for a Guinness World Record in November.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And there's other folks who have literally never rucked before. So the fact that we have somebody who is like, I signed up for this thing because I want to challenge myself. I'm new. I've never rucked before. That's equally impressive to me than like him and Mark, that person or those people and Mark Jones who are going for a record. It's like you're both doing something. You're both doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You're seeing the extent of your human capacity and potential, and for that, like that's striving in common. That's competing. The outcome and the scores are secondary to what happens within an individual when they decide,
Right.
I'm going to give it a go. That's
Yeah.
freaking cool. Okay, I wanted to talk about this thing real quick. Rucking as a sport. This is something that I don't know how to like do on social media or whatever, and I think is a conversation. So when we say rucking as a sport, again, we get it. We didn't invent rucking. The sport of rucking, or rucking as a sport, the way we view it as moving with a load over time, distance, whatever it might be, in a competitive arena does not exist. So we are creating it. And there's a couple just like thought processes. To think about something as a sport, like what does it mean to have a sport? Well, there's standards and rules. And one of the things we're saying with this is we love that people walk with a vest. Fine. But like that's not a noun ruck. So we have to standardize what we mean by what is a ruck, like as a noun, not a verb. So for that, we're saying, all right, well, to get everybody aligned, the weight has to be on your back.
Mm-hmm.
we were gonna say it has to go in a bag, but then like Go Ruck makes a ruck plate carrier, which is basically just a sleeve with straps. And again, it's like, look, if we say no, you can't, like, that's not a ruck. Nobody would look at that and say like, yeah, that's a ruck. Like, no, it's not. It's a strapped
Mhm.
plate on your back. However, if saying no, that's not authorized, and somebody has it because they don't know, they're just like, oh, this is whatever. And it dings accessibility. If it makes it unnecessarily inaccessible, it's like, what are we doing? So that's fine. That's okay. But like a vest or things where it's even where somebody asked, what if I put all of the weight on the back, but I still have the vest? It's like, no, that's not, that's not, we're not, that's not it. Like no vests. Vests are not rucks. So like we have to establish standards and rules. And honestly, there's probably some standards and rules that we aren't aware of right now that over the season we're gonna, figure out and stuff. So as we build this sport, as we build rucking as a sport, we have to standardize things. And that's why we use Strava also, because it's like, hey, if everybody uses Strava, I get it. It may or may not be as accurate as your Apple GP, like whatever, but it's like we have to have a standard unit, a standard thing.
Right.
So there's that. And then speaking of scoring, measuring and scoring. Every sport has a way of measuring and scoring. Golf, right? Like strokes, whatever it might be, points. Every athlete gets that. And for rucking, most people view it as, okay, maybe what your time was or how far you went. But there's a uniqueness to rucking as a sport that we're going to explore throughout the course of the season. There's like 4 elements to how you would score or could potentially score a ruck. There's your time, obviously. There's your distance. So we had Chronos was a 60-minute, that checked the distance box. If let's just say it was a 12K for time, like Mark Jones did,
Mhm.
then the time is your score. Okay. But there's time, there's distance, and then there's obviously like the load you carry. And the reason we're using for a handful of these, or at least for Chronos and percentage of body weight, is because we feel like that's standardizing to an extent. If I weigh 205 and I use 40 pounds and somebody weighs 150 and they use 40 pounds, I don't know. I think it's cool to have like the relative percentage of body weight thing. For some, not all. And we'll kind of highlight that over the course of the season. And then there's elevation. That's an element of scoring. That's an element of rucking. That's an element of a course that is part of the event, the experience, the sport. So over the course of the season, if we were to never factor these things in or never maybe address them, I feel like we would be incomplete on it. You have anything there?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then competing. We talked about competing, but like, yeah, in a sport, you compete. You naturally are curious about how you stack up against others, and you push yourself. You going out and shooting hoops is fine. That's beautiful. That's wonderful. But you wouldn't say like I'm competing in basketball if you do that. Right? You got
Right.
others, there's a team, there's an element, there's an essence of competition. Um, and then you can train for something. It's something you can train for. In rucking, if you want to look at rucking as a sport, there are certain physical and mental capacities and skills that you want to train for. And if somebody's looking at this, like, yeah, you want to develop your fitness profile to support longer distance aerobic conditioning, short distance heavy, ability to bear load, and everything in between. And that's where it's like it's pretty. I think it's pretty cool for people
Yeah.
to get on board with it. Um, it's different than just an activity. It's awesome to put the vest on or the ruck on when you walk the dogs or you take a meeting. Like that's all beautiful stuff, and we encourage that. But that's different than like viewing it as a sport. And both can exist. And we also want to highlight to people that a sport has a season component. Have that feel of like, okay, over the duration, every athlete knows every other opponent presents to you a different look, different fields play differently, different pools swim faster, shorter, different courses, elevation, wind, whatever. Like there's so much range that that's why we're having the season. So all right, cool. What else? Any questions? If y'all have any questions, put them in. There was one somebody asked about let's see. It was what form of fitness do you think is best for like training for rucking?
Mm.
And this person was a CrossFit coach. Um, I don't know if we have enough time to go into that. I think that might
Yeah.
be
Yeah. I think
yeah.
you know we're trying to keep these also to like an hour. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to hear us talking that long. Um, but I think in general, one of the things we've said that we really love about rucking is if you think about it in a very broad way, you're going to need some strength, you know, sure, if you want to be specific with like core, hips, upper back, you're going to need a aerobic base. Okay, so that's some cardio. You're going to have to train being uncomfortable. So it's kind of a nice way to get broad and general, like these categories of fitness that are all important. They're all going to be, so whether it's CrossFit or, how we approach things at our gym, I mean, those are the components that are necessary. So not necessarily being so rigid with what format, but there are some things that are going to make you excel at rucking and feel good doing it. But that's probably another
Yeah.
podcast. So,
And I think it also depends on where you're starting from.
yeah.
Somebody who's never rucked before, like, and they're like, oh, I don't know, I feel all these muscles I've never felt before. It's like, yeah, you just need to ruck more. Somebody
Sure.
who is advanced and has a lot of familiarity. What are some of the injuries and limitations? Like, I think that it obviously is an answer that has nuance, but something that includes, yeah, both cardio and strength. It's kind of funny, and this is maybe we can talk about this too, because it's like the hybrid athlete
Mhm.
sort of apparently argument, like everything is on the internet now. But like, does a hybrid athlete exist? What is it not? Like, look, but if you were to look at like something like rucking, where there's a strength component and there's a cardio component, bring them together, that's a hybrid sort of situation. um Rucking is almost kind of like the ultimate or a really cool expression of that capacity. I think
Yeah.
CrossFitters obviously have a lot of um, experience in physical discomfort, in strength, and all these different things. Um, but I think that the limitation there is very rarely do they go long,
Yeah.
and that can kind of break it down. I'm just going to check for any other comments here. Any questions? Rucking for rucking is great for the conditioning of rucking. I think being fit across all models and domains will, but yeah, for sure. Yeah, rucking for rucking.
Yeah. I
Well,
think, Leslie commented grit. I think it's funny when you go rucking with someone who never has experienced like the backpack on the shoulders
yeah.
and trying to like get comfortable, and there is that bit of resiliency of just like accepting the discomfort. And what's
Mhm.
neat about it is it's not really in a way that's going to be destructive.
Right.
We're talking about like being uncomfortable, but in a way that is still relatively safe. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think that's
Yeah. So we have 12 week and a half, right? 2 more weekends. Does that make sense? Yeah, 2 more
Yep.
weekends to get your Chronos score in. Again, if there's questions that people have, they can email in. They can message us. We're pretty pretty responsive. But 2 more weekends. You can definitely redo it. I'm going to be redoing it. I'm definitely going to be redoing it. I'm looking forward to redoing it. I don't think I've redone. I've done one CrossFit. I've redone one workout in a competition thing, like literally ever. And real quick on that, it was because I quit. I quit on it. Like I was like, oh man, I was like, had like 30 seconds left. I was like, I'm not going to finish it. And I quit in my mind. I stayed moving, but I quit in my mind. I was like, absolutely not. That's nonsense. And so like 5 minutes later, I redid it. I actually did better. So analyze that. But I've never done like the redo thing. That hasn't ever done anything for me. But I'm going to give this one a go again. I'm going to give it a go. I didn't hit 10K. I want to go over 10K. And we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And I think that's kind of having fun and curiosity with it is part of what I'd like to do. So,
yeah. And on that note, so we are hosting every month, we will host something locally here. It's not, that's not super accessible for people, but we are going to be continuing to post where people are gathering folks, and they don't have to be registered to participate. Obviously, I mean, it's cool if people show up,
yeah,
do it. Maybe they decide they want to get on the leaderboard. But the first weekend in May, you will actually be down in Orlando doing it, and Michael will be there as well. So that's kind of cool. We'll put the details of that up. So if you're in the Orlando area, I know there's a couple people that are down there. So gather, and that'll be a fun one to do in a group for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And then we have some exciting like in-person things coming up for the season
Mm-hmm.
that we'll be sharing. We also have kind of a special monthly, what do we call it? Sort of award that we're going to be announcing,
Yeah,
probably by the end of next week. So there are opportunities for people to be acknowledged and even win a prize, even if you're not at the top of the leaderboard. So that's really
yeah, yeah. I like that because one of the things we want to do is, I don't want to say like reward, but like recognize and make it an enjoyable experience for everybody, from the person who sets a world record to the person who like becomes someone different because they're doing something new and they've never done. And so we are also not only going to award people who, like Mark Jones, I'm going to keep bringing him up, or Tessa over in the Netherlands. Like, all right, like goodbye, like have fun, like kind of like who's going to win or whatever. But we'll see. I mean, there's 5 different events, but point being, we want people that, regardless of where they are on the leaderboard, like we're watching, and
right.
we are very much aware of some amazing stories being shared, and how people are using rucking as a way of elevating their life, and really expressing that just hard to describe essence of the human spirit, which perseveres and shines through because of the adversities and challenges. And like,
Yeah.
that's obviously something that we've kind of always been about, through fitness, through between the years, through different things. And that will 1000% be woven into and highlighted. So, and this show is kind
Yeah.
of a way we hope to do that too. So
Yeah.
yeah. All
All
right.
right.
Well, 59 minutes. Appreciate everybody hopping on. If y'all got any feedback for us, for sure, send it over. Tell your friends wherever you are in the world. Have a good time. If you have any questions, send them. If you are like a poster and you like posting, please go ahead and give us a tag. We'd love to, we'd love to see. So
Yes,
Have a great weekend, y'all.
there will never be swimming and rucking, by the way, because Bill will drown. So if you're concerned about that, there will never be a swim event in Ruck Race League. I was
No,
just reading
no,
Michael's comment.
there will not be swimming.
Yeah, Bill can't swim. So have a
No.
wonderful weekend, everyone.
All right, y'all. Thank you.